Hey everybody. Last week I talked about gratitude, so this week I'm going to talk about things I'm not grateful for. All right, let's start the show. There is no God and we're all gonna die. There is no God and we're all gonna die. There is no God and we're all gonna die. There is no God, there's just you and I. Hey everybody, welcome to There Is No God and We're All Gonna Die. I'm your host Daniel Cartier, a gay liberal atheist living in the Bible Belt, and this is a fun episode. I decided to do an episode listing off things I'm not grateful for because last week I did a episode listing off all the things I was grateful for, and there was quite a bit. I think I listed off 60 things. I'm not going to get that crazy with the ungrateful episode, but I do think it's important after spending so much time talking about the things I'm grateful for to admit that there are still things that I look at in the world and I think like, man, this is not fucking cool. We have a lot of problems. And so I'm going to just list off 30 things. I decided 30 things. So I will get to that list in a second. But before I do, let's do a little bit of self-promotion. Self-promotion, self-promotion. Look at all the good stuff that I'm doing well, girl. All right, well, couple things. First, if you want to call the show, very important. I love getting voice messages and I respond to all of them on my podcast. And so no matter what you think of this podcast, whether you love it or you hate it, I would love to hear from you. All you need to do is go to danielcartier.com. DanielCartier.com, and then hit podcast, and there's a button there that says leave a voicemail, and yeah, you can talk. I think you get 90 seconds to voice your opinion, and you can tell me you love what I'm talking about. You can tell me you hate what I'm talking about. I don't care. I am a new podcast, so I'm kind of chasing people down for these voice messages. I will openly admit that. I'm not trying to be a bigger deal than I am. I'm very much a fledgling podcast, so I desperately need people to call. So I don't care if you love me or hate me. I just want you to call me. So yeah, danielcartier.com/podcast. Hit that voicemail button and let me know what you think. And also while you're there, the other thing I was going to say is I just redesigned my website. I had a very confusing website because I do art and I do music and then I also do this podcast. And I'm one of those people, I'm always doing creative projects. And so I kept adding more projects and more projects into this website and loading them all onto the homepage. And honestly, after a while, it just started looking like this hot mess. So I actually took some time this week and I took my website completely apart and redid it. And I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So I'd love to get your feedback on that as well. Do you like the simpler website? It's very pristine. It has a white background. It looks all classy now. And so I feel a little bit more classy. So I would love to get your opinion on what you think of my new website. So you can let me know about that. All right, let's see what is happening in the news. X-ray, read all about it. We're in the news, we're in the news. X-ray, read all about it. We're in the news, we're in the news. X-ray, read all about it. X-ray, read all about it. Yes, sir, we're in the news. All right, first of all, the Indiana House passes new Republican-drawn congressional map. The map now moves to the state. And basically what's happening, the Indiana House on Friday, that's today, approved a new congressional map designed to net Republicans 2 more seats, setting up a clash over the redistricting effort pushed by President Donald Trump in the state. Okay, so basically, the Indiana House wants more congressional seats, and so it's more gerrymandering from the Republican Party because the Republican Party has no fucking good ideas. So instead, the only way they can keep power is by redistricting things and gerrymandering. We just dealt with that this week. We had a special election for District 7 where I live, and the Democrat probably could have won had the Republicans not split Nashville up into 3 separate districts. So now
sections of Nashville are tied in with these other sections that has nothing to do with, and they split up these places in order to stay in power. If you have to do all this just to stay in power, maybe your ideas just suck, So anyways, that's going on. The Supreme Court is looking into ending birthright citizenship, which is something that we've had in America for over 160 years. And now, for some reason, we don't want to have it anymore because Donald Trump said so. So that's going on. We are blowing up boats in the ocean without any proof that people are running drugs on the boats, but we're just blowing them up anyways. And actually, we just blew up a boat that had 11 people on it, and there were 2 survivors clinging to wreckage from the boat. Clearly, they couldn't do harm to anybody else, and so we killed them too. They were completely defenseless. They were just clinging on to the remnants of their boat with obviously no weapons or anything, and so we blew them up. That is where we are now with... That's where we are now with Pete Hegseth, overseeing all this. And so he thinks it's awesome, and all the people who love him thinks it's awesome, but yeah, it's pretty fucking sad. So that's happening. This is from Reuters. Okay. Bondi orders U.S. law enforcement to investigate, quote, extremist groups. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi on Thursday ordered federal law enforcement to step up investigations into the anti-fascist Antifa movement and similar extremist groups, and asked the FBI to compile a list of entities possibly engaged in domestic terrorism, according to an internal memo reviewed by Reuters. The memo, which was sent to prosecutors and federal law enforcement agencies, calls on the Justice Department to prioritize investigating and prosecuting acts of domestic terrorism. It comes several months after President Donald Trump signed an order targeting Antifa as a terrorist organization and pledged to go after left-leaning groups following the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Antifa, short for anti-fascist, is a decentralized, leaderless movement. Okay, so here's my problem with this. First of all, define what an extremist group is. Antifa, first of all, it's not even a group. It's literally just a mindset, and it literally means anti-fascist. So I don't understand why anybody would have a problem with people being against fascism. And I think it's funny coming from this administration that has been pardoning criminals, blatant criminals, people who have frauded the government and have frauded investors and have frauded, is frauded a word? I don't care. I'm going to use it. Have frauded the IRS even. Donald Trump has been pardoning these massive criminals left and right. Not only that, same fucking administration that views the January 6th domestic terrorists who attacked our nation's capital over phony stolen election charges brought on by Donald Trump showed up at our nation's capital with box cutters and nooses and zip ties, and they were looking for people like Nancy Pelosi, probably so they could rip her limb from limb. But they're not domestic terrorists, according to people like Pam Bondi. But the people who are fighting fascism are. That's my problem with this. This is fucking ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. And my problem also with it is that they can probably just say that anybody, they can just start calling people a domestic terrorist. If they don't like your views, if you're liberal leaning, suddenly you're a domestic terrorist. For all I know, my podcast is going to be viewed as domestic terrorism at some point. Like they're going to view me as somebody spreading like propaganda or something, when really, if you listen to pretty much every single episode, I'm pissed off at them, and I'm pissed off that they're brainwashing their base. But at no point do I ever call for people to go be violent. Meanwhile, when you look on the right, there's all sorts of calls for violence all the time. I mean, last time I checked, the Proud Boys weren't sitting around making friendship bracelets. Neither were like the friggin' KKK or, the Oath Keepers or any of these other people who are supporting Trump. But, according to them, those organizations are fine. These extremist hate groups, basically. But somebody who's advocating for a more just system where we're not just rewarding billionaires all the time, and is fighting against fascism. Those people are the problem. So that's a little fucked up. Anyways, that's what's happening in the news. Okay, so we got all that out of the way. And now we are at this list of 30 things I am not grateful for. Basically, you can call it my anti-Thanksgiving list. And I would love to hear what you think of this list. So when you're done listening to this episode, go to danielcartier.com/podcast, hit that leave a voice message button, and let me know what you think, and I'll respond to it next week. And later on in the episode, I am going to actually take some voicemails, so I'm looking forward to that as well. But let's get to this list. Let's see what Daniel is not grateful for. Here's 30 things Daniel isn't grateful for. Yeah. All right. Let's get to this list. Okay, thing number 1, bigots. I'm not grateful for bigots. I think bigots suck. So if you are a homophobe or a transphobe or a racist or a sexist or just somebody who just thinks that you deserve to have better treatment than other people because you're, I don't know, white, straight, and Christian or whatever, then yeah, I'm not grateful for you. Thing number 2, hypocrisy. I am not grateful for hypocrisy. I think it's really sad when people claim to be religious or something, and then they're cheering for, people losing SNAP benefits, or for people getting kicked out of public assistance, or demonizing people for needing help, or demonizing things like compassion and empathy, and all the things that I actually thought Jesus stood for. As I've said many times, I know a lot of really amazing people who happen to be Christian, but they share the same values as me. They are not homophobic. They're not racist. They're not transphobic. They love everybody. They support a woman's right to choose. They support helping immigrants. They support helping people in general. And so they share all the same values that I share, which honestly, I think, I'm an atheist, but I think, as somebody who knows a little bit about the Bible, I think the way they are is what Christ would want. It's the Christ-like way to be. And then I see these Christian nationalists who claim to be like star-spangled awesome with Jesus, but yet they're cheering Trump, who is pardoning criminals and lying every time he opens his mouth, and he's completely corrupt, and he's giving tax breaks to billionaires. And you have these people who claim to be these Christians, but their views and everything that they applaud, like if Jesus was alive today, he would just be like, what the fuck are you people doing? So yeah, I am not grateful for hypocrisy, and there's just so much of it lately, and it's so frustrating. It leads me to thing number 3. I'm not grateful for any of the presidential pardons that are happening. It just seems like every day there's more and more ridiculously corrupt people who have swindled investors out of millions of dollars. They've ruined people's lives financially, like cryptocurrency scams and like all this other stuff. And Trump is just pardoning them left and right and left and right. And I'm like wondering, how much money are they paying him to do this? Like, I'm convinced there's like a bunch of payola happening that we don't know about. I can't prove it because I'm just some stupid podcast host, but it seems awfully fishy to me that the party of law and order, which the Republicans like to call themselves, is also become the party of pardoning hardcore criminals, like criminals who should be in jail forever. And, this is the same guy again who pardoned all the January 6th domestic terrorists who showed up at our Capitol with the intent of, I think, killing people. And again, you get all these good Christians who were cheering for that. Which leads me to number 4, which is that I am also not grateful for corruption being celebrated. And it seems like that is just all over the place right now. Everything is so fucking corrupt. And it seems like everything that the Republican Party stands for now is basically just like they stand for corruption. It's just like completely corrupt. And so number 5 and number 6 are kind of tied together. And number 7, I'm not grateful for these mindsets. Owning the libs, people will literally vote against their own best interests just so that they can own the libs. So they can prove like, oh, these woke liberals who want, 3-year-olds to get sex changes and like people eating pets. Like they have these stupid narratives that aren't even based in any sort of fact. It's all just like stuff that they get from these news outlets that don't even post real news, but they are so hell-bent on owning the libs. And I don't even think they realize if that is your platform. Like, I'm going to vote Republican so I can own the libs. But meanwhile, you're losing health care. You're losing benefits. You're probably going to lose your Social Security if you're not careful, but you own the libs. You own the libs. So that mindset, obviously, I'm not grateful for, because when they're doing that and they're voting against their own best interests, they're also voting against my own best interests, because when they lose their benefits and like their health care goes way up, guess what? Mine does too. So forgive me if I'm not grateful for that, which leads me to number 6. When winning is the only point, like they'll jump through hoops just to win, but yet they're not winning, because the only people who are really winning are the people in vast positions of power who benefit from us losing all of our benefits, like these multi-billionaires. Love the fact that we're doing this. Number 7, I am not grateful for gerrymandering, and we have an epidemic of it now. We have these states like Texas and what did I say before? Indiana, I think. And I think that's happening in North Carolina. There's a bunch of states now where they're trying to redraw everything. And it does seem like every time I turn on the news now, like some other state is trying to redraw their districts just so that Republicans can stay in power. And to me, what that says, it's almost like when a monster is dying, it's going to be the most dangerous, because that's when it's going to lash out the most. And so when I see Republicans doing this, to me, first of all, it's sad, because, I mean, it just kind of says like, dudes, you obviously have really shitty ideas. If your ideas were great, you wouldn't have to do any of this. Like, if your ideas truly were amazing, I'd be voting Republican, but I'm not. And there's a reason why I'm not, because all your ideas suck. It just serves billionaires. It serves millionaires. It does not help the average American. And that includes Democrats and Republicans. You know, when I say that I want affordable health care and lower prices, and I want like basic services for people, I don't just want that for Democrats. I want that for everybody. You know, that's the thing. It's like, I want all of us who are down here, the majority of the people, because the majority of the people are not the 1%. The majority of the people, like, you know, we might have a little bit of nest egg. Most people in America are about 3 paychecks away from financial ruin. Like, literally, we have more people living paycheck to paycheck now than ever before. And good Lord, like, think about this. I know for me, I just went to renew my health care for next year, and the cost that they said I may have to pay is like 10 times what I was paying. And that's not an exaggeration, almost 10 times what I was paying before. That's fucked up. So what am I going to do? I'm actually choosing a shittier plan, because it's like, yeah, I can't pay that. That's crazy. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to. Like, I'm not going to pay 10 times what I was paying this year. Like, that is fucking crazy. So I don't know. Like, I don't know how Republicans see this happening. And yet, what, are they still going to think that Trump's awesome? Like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Number 8, I am not grateful for ICE. I think it's a ridiculous thing that we started. I think it's a waste of fucking money. I think it's hurting our economy. We've already seen the fact that businesses have suffered because we've lost workers. And I don't like to view people as illegal. And how many more news stories do we need to see of innocent people being targeted and pushed to the ground and punched, and children being zip-tied and guns being pointed in people's faces? Some roofers, I can't remember, I think it was in Memphis this week, they were working on a roof and ICE showed up and they were pointing guns at these workers working on a fucking roof. They were literally pointing guns at the workers, and the workers didn't have guns. Like, the workers were just up there working on a fucking roof. And these ICE agents were pointing guns at them, pointing guns at people who were just doing jobs, you know? And there was no proof that those people were here illegally or not. I don't know how that all played out, but, you know, at the end of the day, I don't like the idea of masked people who aren't showing their face showing up and just pointing guns at people. That is fucked up. So yeah, I am not grateful for ICE. I think it's fucking bunch of fucking bullshit. And I think that it'll be interesting to see over the next, I don't know, 5 or 10 years, how many millions of dollars in lawsuits and government red tape is going to happen because of things like ICE. I think it's going to like clog up our court system, and it didn't have to be this way. It's going to be a fucking legal conundrum. And so things that we should be using our court system for, it's going to have to be used to deal with all these constitutional cases. This is the problem when you have a president who has no concept of what the Constitution actually is, and they're just going around like a bull in a china shop. It may feel good to conservatives right now, like, yeah, we're getting the illegals. It's like when your entire platform is basically the equivalent of a temper tantrum, that might feel good in the moment, but later on, we all have to pick up the pieces. And we're going to be picking up the pieces from this for a long time. And man, I am not grateful for that either. Number 9, I'm not grateful for Kristi Noem and her ugly fucking face. And the reason why I think she has an ugly face is because she killed her fucking dog. She killed her dog in cold blood, and then Trump still hired her to be in his administration. That's unforgivable. I'm sorry, but like somebody just shooting their dog because they don't like the dog. That right there, she can smear as much fucking makeup as she wants on that fucking stupid face of hers, and she'll always be a fucking ugly puppy killer as far as I'm concerned, and I know that might sound harsh, but I don't give a flying fuck. Fuck you, Kristi Noem. Fuck you. All right. Number 10, animal abusers. I'm not grateful for animal abusers. Here's the thing that sucks. I'm against the death penalty, in theory, but show me an article about somebody abusing an animal, like animal abuse. And man, like my ideas about the death penalty go out the window. It's like, I'll fucking pull the switch, I'm sorry, I'm just being honest. When it comes to animals and children and the elderly and people hurting things that are defenseless, yeah, I don't like the way it makes me feel. So yeah, I'm not grateful for animal abusers. I think the way somebody treats an animal says a lot about who they are as a person, and animals are pure souls, and so they don't deserve that, obviously. And so anyways, I am not grateful for animal abusers. Number 11, I'm not grateful for the fact that we live in a society right now that is choosing ballrooms over healthcare. We have a president who is more obsessed with creating this stupid fucking ballroom that nobody asked for, when Americans are losing their healthcare. And like I said, my healthcare premiums, if I stayed with the same plan that I've had for the last 3 years, gonna be 10 times more expensive. That's fucked up. But Trump's getting his ballroom. Number 12, choosing billionaires over SNAP recipients. I will just remind us that this government shutdown, that was a bunch of political theater that Republicans orchestrated. That, at the heart of it, had to do with billionaires getting more tax breaks. In order to do that, they were cutting off people's health benefits. Essentially, I'm oversimplifying it, but I don't fucking give a shit. And yeah, in the process, people didn't get their SNAP benefits. And now Donald Trump is saying that he wants to go to the Democratic states, and those SNAP benefits recipients have to show proof or something. So there's going to be more red tape for people from Democratic states in order to get their SNAP benefits, because Donald Trump is basically a vindictive douchebag, and he wants to punish Democratic states. Honestly, you can say what you want about Joe Biden or even George W. Bush, who was a Republican, or Obama. But you know what? Most of those presidents, they didn't single out states for punishment. That is not what a president's supposed to do. We warned our MAGA-loving friends back in September and October of last year leading up to the election. We warned them that Donald Trump wanted to be a dictator and that he wanted to use the office of the presidency as this thing where he could wield this ridiculous amount of power and get back at the people that he didn't like and practice political retribution. And I obviously was really pissed off that people didn't seem to care, and a lot of them actually seemed to like the idea. I actually think that a lot of Republicans, they kind of wanted him to be a dictator. They were waving their little American flags and they're like, USA, USA, freedom, freedom, freedom isn't free. But then the thought of Trump being a dictator actually didn't scare them at all. They actually seemed to like the idea. Laura Loomer even said recently that she wants Trump to be a dictator. She said something along those lines. So yeah, the specter of him being this dictator is not scary to a lot of Republicans. And that's fucking scary to me because I have to live here. I have all these dogs. Like I've got this house. I can't move anywhere else. So I have to live here, as do most people. It's not like the average American. Like, as I said, the average American, most people in America now, have this economy where people are really just struggling to make ends meet. And so, when somebody says, well, if you don't like it, just leave. Okay, first of all, you can't just leave, because if you're living paycheck to paycheck, or you maybe are like 3 paychecks away from like not having any money, you can't just like, wow, I'm going to move to Canada, or I'm going to move to Europe, or I'm going to move to some place that has, like a better way of doing things. No, it's like people are kind of stuck here. And so, to have a president who not only is singling out people now, because that was my fear, was he was going to use the office of the presidency to go after individuals. But now he's actually boldly going after entire states. Entire states. He wants to penalize entire states. So like SNAP benefit recipients who already are dealing with enough bullshit are going to have to go through additional hoops probably if they live in a state that Trump views as being against him. And this is the thing, like Trump is so fucking full of himself. Everything revolves around him and him feeling victimized and him feeling threatened. And it's classic narcissist stuff. Narcissists are always feeling threatened about everything. And so they've got to, do bullshit like this. Before I get to number 13, I just want to say there are a bunch of other things that I'm not grateful for, but they're kind of Captain Obvious things. I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the episode, like stuff like AIDS and cancer and diseases and famine and all that type of stuff, tornadoes. I'm not listing off any of that stuff because I think, that's kind of obvious, and it would be weird if I was grateful for those things. Of course, I'm not grateful for those things. So again, I'm just sticking to things that, oddly enough, I think some other people are grateful for, but I'm not grateful for them. Like, choosing billionaires over SNAP recipients. Apparently, a lot of people are grateful for that because they keep voting for it. And I don't understand that because I'm not grateful for that. I think it sucks. I think it sucks. Piles of fucking dog shit. Number 13, I'm not grateful for billionaires. I know I've mentioned them a couple times, but I think it's kind of sick that we live in a country now that is, there are more billionaires now than ever before, but there are more people struggling than ever before, and that's a problem. And I think somebody like Elon Musk on his way to become the first trillionaire, I just think it's obscene. I think it's obscene. Nobody needs that much money. Nobody. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I honestly think there should be a cutoff to how much wealth somebody could have, because after a while, it just turns into like an addiction. It's like, I'm an alcoholic. I've been sober for almost 7 years. I'll have 7 years in January, providing like I remain a good boy over the holiday season, which I plan to do. But somebody like me, the way I drank, there just was never enough alcohol. Like once I put alcohol in my system, I was on my way to getting blackout drunk. And I got blackout drunk pretty much every single time. And in the process, I broke a lot of hearts. I had people worry about me. I caused a lot of damage. And, so then when I got sober, I had to make amends to people. And I'm grateful today to be sober. But when I look at these billionaires who have $100 billion, $200 billion, $300 billion, $400 billion, on their way to being the world's first trillionaire, what I see is me not being able to get drunk enough. Like when I was drinking, like, there was just never going to be enough booze for me. Like once I put booze in my body, like there was never going to be enough booze. And I view extreme wealth the same way. It becomes an addiction. Like to me, when you know that there's people losing their SNAP benefits and that normal everyday Americans are going to be paying double, triple, quadruple, 10 times as much for their basic things like healthcare, and you're still comfortable having hundreds of billions of dollars while people are out on the street freezing to death or getting evicted, or I don't get it. I would not be able to sleep at night. My big fantasy, and this is, I don't know if this makes me a weirdo or anything, but if I won the lottery, I would actually love to spend the rest of my life just giving the money away, like actually having a blast giving the money away, like just seeing people's lives changed and knowing when I look back, like I would love to die with $0, like that I wound up giving every single cent I had away while I was here and knowing that it all helped people. Like to me, like that sounds like an amazing life. Like who wouldn't want that? But apparently a lot of people don't want that. Like they just want to like hold on to all their wealth. And I don't know, it's sad because we treat them like rock stars too. Like there's people who like they idolize that. Like they view a billionaire as like, well, that's what a successful person is. Well, I guess I don't know. To me, it seems like a pretty sad existence. So I'm not grateful for billionaires. Number 14, I put Doge down there. I think Doge was a big fucking pile of bullshit perpetrated by the man who's on his way to become the world's richest ever, Elon Musk. Yeah, a bunch of people got fired unceremoniously, just kicked out. And now we're in the process of realizing we have to hire a bunch of them back. We're also realizing that all these mass layoffs and stuff are actually costing us money now. Doge ended up costing us money, not saving money. So isn't that sad? Again, it's this, this administration's way of governing is the equivalent of a temper tantrum. That's what it is. It's just like somebody coming in and like overturning a bunch of tables and smashing a bunch of windows and then being like, okay, I changed everything. It's not that they fixed everything. They just changed everything. They destroyed everything. But in their mind, that's fixing things. Like say you got hired to work at a store and the store was, a little disorganized. And so the manager was like, well, you need to get the store organized. And so your way of doing it would be to like take a sledgehammer and bust all the shelves. And you know what I mean? Like that's basically what Doge did. Like it just destroyed a bunch of stuff. And a lot of it was stuff it turns out we needed. And so now there's lawsuits, again, more bullshit that's going to be clogging up our court system. A lot of it seemed completely unconstitutional. And yeah, turns out that it didn't save any money. And now they've disbanded Doge and you don't even hear anything about it. And again, it's that thing of like, I've had bosses like that in the past where it's like they come in and they do all this crazy stuff and people are running around and then they leave and, people are like, okay, what the fuck just happened? Like, that's what that all was. And so, yeah, I'm not grateful for Doge. Number 15, I'm not grateful for defiant ignorance. It seems like that's the other problem we have right now is that a lot of people, it's almost like they know that stuff like Doge was stupid or that they know that it's almost like I think they even realized that like a bunch of the stuff that perpetrated the January 6th riots, like all this phony stolen election stuff, like they might even know that that was a bunch of bullshit, yet they still support Donald Trump. And it's almost like they're proud to support him, even though they know a bunch of the stuff he says is lies. Like they're still so enamored by him that it's like, it's almost like they think it's, I don't know if they think it's cool or something, but it's like this proud ignorance that we have now where people, they don't even want to know the truth. It's like they're proud that they're getting all their news from memes or from these news organizations that are clearly just propaganda pipelines. Like, for instance, when the whole thing with like, oh, they're eating their pets. And J.D. Vance and Donald Trump were talking about the immigrants eating the pets. And so then everybody started talking about eating the pets. And it was debunked really fast. Like, it was like, no, nobody's eating any pets. It's not happening. But people were proudly still believing it. Like, you would show them, like, yeah, look, this is clearly, it's a bunch of bullshit. And it's like, they still were just proud to believe it anyways. And so that proud, defiant, like Corey calls it defiant ignorance. It's like, they know that they don't know anything, but yet they are really fucking proud of it. And, that's not sustainable. At some point, intelligence needs to matter. Facts, F-A-C-T-S, facts need to matter. The truth needs to matter. Science needs to matter. Education needs to matter. Enlightenment needs to matter. And yet, so many of these things are demonized by people. Which leads me to number 16. I'm not grateful for science deniers, like people who will demonize scientists. They'll demonize professors and authors and scholars and people who have gone to school for a long time to study things like biology and medicine and biochemistry and even controversial things like gender, but they actually have degrees in it and they understand X chromosomes and Y chromosomes. And then you got Bubba and Becky over here living in their fucking double wide who are like, God created man and woman. And it's like, well, actually, if you really look at the data, there's X chromosomes and Y chromosomes, and you look at like a transgender person, and it's like, I don't care about that. God created a man and a woman. And it's like, we have so many fucking people like this now who don't even want to hear the like facts or data or research or anything like that. It's all just, well, the Bible said this and the Bible said, it's like just fucking stupid people who just seem to be proud to stay stupid. I'm certainly not grateful for, defiant ignorance or science denial. Number 17, I'm not grateful for this culture we have now. Somebody just wrote a really wonderful essay on it, actually, that you see the problem. It's not even that it's like Republican versus Democrat anymore. I think we're way past that. That seems almost quaint to me at this point. What we're talking is empaths versus sociopaths, because look at like what the people on one side are advocating for. They're advocating for equality, justice, fairness, peace, equity, helping people, feeding people, clothing people, housing people, treating people with dignity, treating people with grace, civil rights, fairness, kindness, prosecuting criminals, not pardoning them. And then on the other side, we have people not only not for any of that, it's like racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, cheering for somebody who is pardoning criminals, cheering for a man who has declared bankruptcy 6 times and never paid workers, cheering for somebody who pardoned the January 6th rioters who showed up at our nation's capital and attacked it. A day that was so traumatic that police officers ended up killing themselves from the trauma. The floors were so slippery with blood that people were slipping on the floors of the Capitol. Like, that's the reality of what happened that day. People cheering this president who pardoned those people who were smearing feces all over the wall of our Capitol. People who are cheering for lies and for the system that is rewarding billionaires. And it's also obvious too. It's not even like hidden anymore. Like the corruption is just so in your face. People who are cheering for an administration that hired somebody like Kristi who shot her dog. And that's supposedly somebody people look up to now. So I agree. I agree with the person who wrote this article. I really don't think it's about Republicans versus Democrats anymore. I really do think it is empaths versus sociopaths. That really does seem like it to me. And it's sad because, I'm not grateful for that because we all, at the end of the day, have to live with each other. I mean, I can call somebody a sociopath and be like, well, your party is completely fucked up. But guess what? I still need to live with them. I still need to coexist with them. And it's a tall order. It's a tall order. I got into this all last week when I was talking about all the things I was grateful for. I have to question my motives every day. Like when I'm posting stuff online, am I posting to be mean? I do have hatred in my heart and I don't like that. I don't like that because I view myself as an empath. I'm like an emotional sponge. Like I soak it all up, and if somebody's suffering, man, as an atheist, I think that when we die, it's lights out. And one of my hopes when people die is that it's quick and it's painless and there's not a lot of suffering, because I've been around a lot of people who suffered greatly at the end of their time here. My mom, she passed away from Alzheimer's. I would not wish that on anybody. Certainly all my friends who passed away from AIDS and, cancer. And I've seen people go through horrible things at the end of life. And still, a lot of them had a lot of grace and dignity about it. And I'm grateful for that. But I know that they were in a lot of pain. I mean, for me, I kind of that when I die, it's just really quick and painless. And it's like I'm here and then all of a sudden, bam, I'm gone. I always like to say my hope is I die in a freak banana bread making accident. Like I'm making banana bread and I slip on a banana peel and bam, I'm dead. That's my hope. But I truly believe it's lights out, but while we're here, we still have to coexist with each other. And so, yeah, I question my motives all the time. Like I question when I'm feeling this anger towards people, it's like I have to remind myself, like, while we're here, like it's my job to be the love I want to see in the world and the change I want to see in the world and the compassion I want to see in the world. So, even with these people who I view as sociopaths, me just calling them that, it's not going to change anything. So it's like, at the end of the day, I still kind of feel like I got to show up and be the peace, And so I'm not grateful for any of that because, man, it's a tall order. I won't lie. Sometimes you want to just get pissed off and, have a fucking temper tantrum and smash everything, but there's no solution in that. Like maybe it's good for blowing off steam, but it's not a sustainable way to live. And I feel like right now, our culture, it's this big temper tantrum we're all forced to live within. And it's some point we won't be able to do that anymore. We're going to have to come together at some point. So number 20, 21, and 22 are all basically the same thing. I'm not grateful for algorithms, doom scrolling, or the fact that these things have kind of turned us into a culture that is basically just glued to our phones and glued to these screens and our own little worlds. As an atheist, like I truly believe when I die, it's lights out. And so do I really want the last thing I'm doing, like to just be staring at a phone? And the thing that's scary about it is that what we're staring at is social media. We're staring at Facebook. We're staring at Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, like all of that stuff. And those corporations are dependent on us going back over and over and over again. So what they do now, because they're making billions and billions and billions of dollars, Mark Zuckerberg, is one of the richest people in the world. And so it behooves them to have us just glued to our phones all the time. And so what do? They have this thing called algorithm. And the algorithms, like say if I go on there and I see some news story about, I don't know, Republicans doing something really fucked up, like taking away the rights of a marginalized group or something. And so then I comment on it. And so then what does Facebook do? It starts showing me more articles like that. Okay, that pissed you off? Well, here's more stories about that same exact thing. And so then I just start seeing, like for instance, when this transgender person got murdered a little while ago. And so I noticed that all these transphobic people showed up and they were laughing about it and leaving these really horrible comments. Horrible comments. Now, as a gay bashing survivor, when I see people leaving horrible comments about a transgender person getting murdered, it really fucking upsets me. And so I started calling them all out and basically telling them to, they were a bunch of fucking transphobic assholes. Like, you don't laugh about that. Facebook saw me doing that. And so what did it do? It just started showing me all these other stories of, transphobia and stories that Facebook knew would piss me off. Some of them were actually stories from these really right-wing leaning propaganda pages, like where they were posting stories about like the transgender and the LGBTQ agenda and like stories about like liberals want to do this to your kids and liberals want to do that to your kids. And so I started seeing all those type of stories as well because of Facebook's algorithm. And like an idiot, I started commenting on those too, like saying this story is a bunch of bullshit and like all this other stuff. And so before I knew it, my entire news feed was just like all stories about that. And, there's a reason for that because I like to think about like Howard Stern back when he had his radio show and he was the most listened to radio show in America. He was obviously very controversial, but they did a study and they said that people would show up and listen to him if they liked him. But then the people who hated him actually listen longer. So it's almost like people will show up and like the negative stuff actually will get people to show up even more. And I hate that that's what our world's become. Like we've become addicted to being angry and getting riled up. And we have these companies that egg us on. It's like they egg us on. Like because they know we're all on our phone, and I'm probably going to be doom scrolling my phone later on at some point. And, I'd like to say that just by talking about it right now, like I will never succumb to reacting to some story, but I'm sure I will because I know me, So yeah, I'm not grateful for that. Number 23, I'm not grateful for corporate greed and all the stuff that I've been talking about. Corporate greed is at the heart of all of it. I think that corporate greed is, I don't know. I think it's an epidemic, and I think it's something that eventually we're going to have to deal with, taking care of people. That's going to have to become a priority, not just taking care of these billionaires who own these vast corporations and shareholders. Shareholder profits, like at some point, can't be the main point of concern. Like when people say, oh, the economy's doing really good because look at the stock market. But then you look at a lot of people don't own stock. And so to the person who's struggling to make ends meet, that's meaningless. Corporate profit is meaningless to somebody who can't pay their rent and who is paying more for groceries than ever before and whose healthcare is about to go up so much that they're not going to be able to afford to even have healthcare. They're saying that probably 6 or 7 million people are just going to opt not to renew their healthcare in the new year. And that scares the hell out of me because what's going to happen if one of them gets cancer or something? It's important to be insured, but some people are just like, what, I can't fucking afford it anymore. That's all corporate greed, by the way. Our whole healthcare system, the whole problem we have with our healthcare system, it's all corporate greed. The fact that shareholder profits in these vast health insurance companies are more important than actually insuring people. Number 24, I don't like the fact that we demonize basic services. We demonize giving kids a higher education and making college free or affordable is free stuff. Again, the empath versus the sociopath, the fact that we have millions of people now who view helping people as communism or socialism. You'll talk about starting some programs where people would benefit and lives would be enriched and entire communities would be lifted out of poverty, and you're called a communist, You talk about universal health care, something that works so well in other countries and gives people a peace of mind. They go into the hospital and they don't even get a bill. They leave having had stuff taken care of. And they actually go get checkups. That's the other thing. Here in America, people don't even go get checkups, So things like preventative care go out the window when people aren't health insured. Somebody who doesn't have health insurance and they're underinsured or they're uninsured when they're living paycheck to paycheck, things like doctors' visits go out the window. People aren't even getting health checkups to find out if there's problems they should be aware of. And so then when they finally do start feeling sick, and this happens all the time, they have to go to the emergency room. And it's oh, you know what? You have a tumor that we could have found had you been coming and getting checked up. You have massive problems in your heart. And that's not how we should be treating healthcare. And it's not what we should want for our fellow Americans. We should want Americans to be able to go in and get checkups and know about things they should be concerned about, getting cancer screenings and all of that stuff. We should all just have access to all of that. But no, it's even suggesting that we should have all that is, oh, you're a communist. So these people calling somebody like me a communist because I believe everybody should have health care and everybody should have food and everybody should have a roof over their head. That makes me a fucking communist. But, giving these tax breaks to people like Elon Musk, that's capitalism. That's the American way. It's that's fucked up. That is fucked up. That is fucked up. That is fucked up. And so it brings me to number 25. I'm not grateful for that fucking stupid expression, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I talked about this last week. I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but man, we live in a country where there's people who are well, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And it's usually people who already have a bunch of money. They're not suffering at all. They've probably never had to struggle in their life. And they are shaming people basically for struggling. They're shaming people for maybe being born in a zip code that is fraught with poverty, being born into situations where they're going to have a very hard lot in life. And like I've said many times, the people who are saying pull yourself up by your bootstraps, they have fucking designer bootstraps. Like they have the Gucci bootstraps and the star-spangled awesome bootstraps. Well, yay for you. You live a charmed life, and it's easy for you to tell somebody else who's suffering and struggling and doesn't have that. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's so arrogant, you know? Meanwhile, other people, their bootstraps are so threadbare that if they tug them even a little bit, the whole thing's going to fucking snap and break. And some other people don't even have any bootstraps to pull up. So I fucking hate that expression. I am not grateful for that expression at all. When I hear people say that, you know what it is? And I just came up with this right now, and I'm going to say it. That is the asshole detector. You want to find an asshole? Find somebody who says pull yourself up by bootstraps. You've just met an asshole. That person is an asshole. So if you say that all the time to people and you have a nice big fat bank account and you're telling people who are struggling to buy groceries and deal with hardships that you probably know nothing about, and then you're telling them to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, you're an asshole. I say that with love, and my hope is that you learn how to not be an asshole and how to like have a little bit of compassion. I wish that for everybody. Enlightenment is the thing that I wish for everybody. Like, take, for instance, the transphobic person. Yeah, I hate the fact that they're transphobic, but the one loving thing, because I always have to go back to the love and be the love you want to see in the world. The one loving thing that I would always say to a transphobic person once I tell them that their views fucking suck is go meet some transgender people and become friends with them and see what they have to go through every day. And broaden your mind. And I say that with love. And the same with people who say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Instead of saying that, go fucking help some people and help them pull their bootstraps up, or let them borrow your fucking bootstraps. Because you want to know what? You're probably going to learn a lot, and you're probably going to broaden your mind in the process, and your life's going to become more enriched. And when you die, you'll be able to look back and be like, you know what, I got to help a bunch of people. And wouldn't that be better than like, you know what, I got to be a selfish douchebag my whole life and shame people for struggling. I would rather be the person when I die that I helped a bunch of people. You know what, I'm not a perfect person, but I like to think that I help people. I certainly go out of my way to help people when I can. I'm not saying that to sound good. I'm just saying it because it makes me feel good. It feels good to help people, you know? So when you're saying, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, it's like, yeah, I'm not grateful for that expression at all. That expression just fucking sucks. I'm almost done with this list, and then I'm going to get to the voicemails. Again, if you want to call this show and let me know what you think of my list of things I'm not grateful for, just go to danielcartier.com/podcast. Click that leave a voice message button, and you can let me know if you like this list or you don't like this list. I would love to hear from you. Anyways, I only have 5 more things. I'm not grateful for the fact that there are people right now. It's December. It's cold. It's right here. It's actually freezing rain here in Tennessee. I'm not grateful knowing that there's people going hungry tonight. There's people who are going to go to bed hungry. Number 27, I'm not grateful knowing that there's people who need medical care and they can't afford it. Number 28, I'm not grateful that there's people right now here in America and all over the world who feel suicidal because they're not getting the support they need, that they're being bullied, that they're being targeted by bigots or homophobes or transphobes. I'm not grateful for the fact that we have a culture of people struggling. I'm not grateful for the fact that there's animals in shelters who need homes, and that because of the growing poverty, people are making that difficult choice of like, well, am I going to buy groceries for my kids or pay for my pet? And, you know, so people are surrendering their pets. So there's a lot of sadness. There's a lot of hunger, sickness, pain, misery that's happening right now all the time. And so much of it is avoidable if we just fucking took care of people. If we just fucking took care of people and made that a priority, we could have nice things, you know, we could have nice things, but yet we're demonizing nice things, and we are demonizing helping people, and we're demonizing empathy and demonizing compassion. I will say this, that reminds me of Charlie Kirk. When I say I'm against ugliness, like for instance, when people do the laugh emojis about a transgender person getting murdered or a gay person getting gay bashed or a person of color getting attacked by racists, and then people are laughing about it and making jokes about it And we have this culture now where it's like, well, they're people on the other side. Like, it's us versus them. And so like, yeah, they're getting murdered and attacked. So I'm going to laugh about that because that's just a bunch of woke bullshit, blah, blah, blah. I will say that the pendulum swings both ways because when I see people on the left saying stuff, like for instance, when Charlie Kirk got murdered. Now, I'm not a fan of Charlie Kirk. I thought everything he stood for was horrible. But when he died, I didn't cheer about it. I didn't make jokes about it. I mean, I will say I did see people on the left saying some really vile things and like making a bunch of jokes. There was a meme where like it was like, oh, this is the Charlie Kirk fountain, and it was like water coming out of his neck. And I view stuff like that as being just as ugly. I'm not grateful for that either. I'm not grateful knowing that people who, for the most part, share my values of wanting to take care of people and empathy and kindness and equality and graciousness and dignity and all that good stuff. But yet they would make a joke about somebody getting murdered because the person was conservative. Like, to me, ugliness is ugliness. Like, it doesn't matter if it's coming from the left or the right. And so I know that I get really hot under the collar and I call people out. But when I call people out, it's because they're being hateful. And so, for instance, Charlie Kirk, I do not cheer the fact that he died. I think it's horrible. I think it's horrible when anybody gets murdered. But if he was still alive, I still would be just as pissed off at him about all the views he had. Like his views in my mind were horrible. So I guess the thing is like, at the end of the day, it's still about, can I still be the love I want to see in the world? So I don't know. That's a tall order. And I don't say that to make people feel bad. I'm just saying like, this is how I feel about it. So, this is my list of things that I'm not grateful for. So like, I'm not grateful for the ugliness. So number 29, I'm not grateful for what this does to me. Like all this stuff like that I just listed. I'm not grateful for how that makes me feel as a person. Like I feel myself sometimes falling into that canyon of hatred and wanting to hate people. I know I've shared about this before, like after the election when they voted back in Donald Trump, this horrible, horrible, vile human being. Yeah, I was blind with anger and hatred. I mean, I was throwing furniture across the room. I was going onto social media and picking fights with people, kind of like a guy looking for a bar fight. I don't like knowing that energy lives in me. Like it's something that really bothers me. We live in a very toxic world. Like I just listed off a bunch of toxic stuff, toxic, vile things, prejudice and corruption and greed and people going hungry and not having health care and other people cheering about that and, accusing people of being communists because they want to help people, like all this stuff. It's a bunch of ugliness. I think on a personal level, like number 29, I'm not grateful for how that makes me feel about myself. I know I've shared about this many times. Like, yes, I'm not religious, but my spiritual path is to be the love I want to see in the world, be the light I want to see in the world, be the change I want to see in the world, be the community I want to see in the world, be the empathy I want to see in the world, be the compassion I want to see in the world, be the kindness I want to see in the world, all these beautiful things. And I do struggle with it. I mean, there's times where I'm just blind with hatred. Like I feel that hatred. I want to go and make people hurt the way I'm hurting. And I think that's a very human thing. And so I'm not grateful that all these things make me feel that way. And so part of me working through all those feelings is doing stuff like this podcast. Believe it or not, this podcast gets a lot of that negative energy out of me. It's almost like you guys are watching me go to therapy, but the therapy is like, you guys are my therapist, like listening to me babble on about all this stuff. And so I'm grateful for you guys listening. Number 30, just going to end with this. I'm not grateful for fake persecution. I think we live in a culture now and it's kind of tied in with this fake persecution, like the quote unquote war on Christmas, when there's no fucking war on Christmas. Nobody gives a flying fuck about it. Say Merry Christmas all you want. Like, we don't fucking care. I say Merry Christmas. There's no war on Christmas. There's no war on religion or religious freedom. It's just this thing of like when people like Christians, and it's usually Christians, no offense, but it's usually Christians, not all Christians, because like I said, I know a lot of Christians who are amazing, and progressive and they would agree with me on this. But these people who think like, well, I'm being persecuted because I can't practice my homophobia, or they're making me issue marriage licenses to gay people. And so I'm being persecuted. It's like, no, you're not being persecuted. People claim like they're being persecuted simply because they're being asked to accept other people at face value. That's basically what it is. All right, well, let's listen to some voicemails. Again, if you want to call the show, just go to danielcartier.com/podcast, and there's a button there. Leave me a voicemail, and I will listen to it and respond. I can't wait to hear from you guys. danielcartier.com/podcast. All right, let's see who called. Let's listen to some voicemails. Yeah.
Hello, Daniel. It's Paul from Michigan.
Hmm.
First of all, I want to say I loved your Thanksgiving episode. There were so many things from your 60 things you're grateful for that resonated with me as well. My question for you today is, out of music artists who are still alive, who would you most like to collaborate with?
Ah, Paul, it's so nice to hear from you. I love that question. Who would I like to collaborate with that's still alive musically? I would love to say that's a really difficult question, but it's not. I have a bucket list artist that I really want to meet just to say that I met her. I would love to work with Dolly Parton. I think our voices would sound really amazing together. And I mean, she's Dolly Parton. To me, when I think of somebody that just makes me feel good whenever I hear her talk or whenever I see her, she is like somebody that just like fills any place she walks into. She's just like this ray of sunshine. And so, yeah, as this angry, gay, liberal atheist living in the Bible Belt who obviously has a bunch of chips on his shoulder, I think I could use some Dolly Parton energy. And I think that me getting to spend some time working on a song with Dolly Parton, I don't know what we'd sing about. Probably about, like loving everybody. It seems like she'd want to sing a song about loving everybody because she's all about that. And I love that about her. So yeah, I would love to, do a duet with Dolly Parton. I think our voices would sound really good together. Maybe not, but I think we would. And I think we'd have a great time. So, if it wasn't her, um, oh God, there's so many other people. Kate Bush. I'd love to work with Kate Bush. I'm a huge Kate Bush fan. I think she's a genius. All right, let's see. Thanks for calling, Paul. I love hearing from you. That was really nice. All right, who else called?
Good morning. This is Michael from Columbus, Ohio, giving you a lovely little recording and a rant about Donald motherfucking Trump. I don't love him. I don't hate him. I just wish while he was taking a nap, it would be like an episode out of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where his spinal cord would just reach up and start choking his brain. I just want to watch him die on live TV and watch the entire room just go into an absolute panic, like watching Julius Caesar die. Or actually, not Julius Caesar. We'd rather go with, Caligula at this point. At least Julius Caesar did some good. This motherfucker is just the modern day Caligula, right down to the point of sex with things you shouldn't be fucking. Even though he's fucking us all. And he didn't even buy us dinner first. He took away our EBT cards. I never really expected, as I turned 61 years old, that I would be living in a world where everything this man says is a lie,
Yep.
and the people around him accept it like holy scripture. I cannot wait for the day of reckoning to come to all of the sycophants around him, when his lies are fully exposed and they can be held accountable for the damage that they have done. The problem with that is he's going to retire soon, JD Vance is going to take over, and then we're going to be stuck with these motherfuckers for another 8 years. God help us all. Grab a bottle, hunker down, and pray for daylight. Karen Walker was right.
Karen Walker. Who is Karen Walker? Now I'm wondering who Karen Walker was. Well, Michael, I get it. I get the anger. I totally get the anger. As you know, I just read off 30 things that I'm not grateful for, and they pretty much all surrounded like the corruption you're talking about. Yeah, we have this in administration right now. It's like it's like friggin' clown car, and it's populated with sycophants and hanger-ons and yes men and people who are just licking Donald Trump's butt and bowing down to him and treating it like a fucking cult, like a cult leader. And yeah, it is. It's scary. And I don't blame you for having that anger. It makes perfect sense. You know, the thing you mentioned, this thing of being stuck with these people forever. I totally understand that fear. You know, I'm 56 years old and my dad lived to be 89. My mom lived to be 82. So for me, if I live to be around their age, like I have about 30 more years, if I'm lucky, if I don't die in a freak banana bread making accident or a freak podcasting accident, you know, like I'll have like another 30 years, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. I don't want those remaining years to be monopolized by fighting against corruption and fighting against oppression and fighting against bigotry. But it seems like that's what life is going to be like because, you know, it takes a long time to untangle all this stuff. When you break things so royally, it's not like you can just vote in a new administration and it's all just going to go away. Like, we're going to be dealing with the aftermath of Donald Trump's presidency for a long time. A long time. And the implications are going to be vast. You know, what we're doing is basically creating a culture of desperation. We are creating obscenely wealthy people on one hand, and then we are creating this vast society of people who are just going to be living hand to mouth, scrambling to make ends meet, hating each other, arguing with each other, blaming each other and not the people who are actually doing all the damage. You know, we'll be down here flinging mud at each other, and there's just going to be a lot of desperation. And so we're going to see like a rise in crime and like all this other stuff. And it scares me. It scares me that like they're saying even now that like, I just read this article somewhere where like the idea of retiring, like people retiring is going to become antiquated. Like that people are just going to be working until they drop dead. And like, that is not what it was supposed to be like. That's not what it was. But, you know, like when you see people who are going to work in their late 70s and early 80s because they have to go to work. I find that offensive. I do think that at some point, people should just be able to fucking relax. And the fact that, you know, they can't afford to. It's sad. It's sad. And so I understand that frustration. I understand that frustration of just being so angry. I get it. My one thing is like, be the change I want to see in the world. So if I'm upset with something, I need to show up and I need to, you know, make the change happen. And so, voting, vote like our lives and our sanity depend on it. Because, yeah, we're all here. We're all stuck here together. So, you know, get involved, take part. I gotta always go back to like trying to look at the hopeful side, because if I go too far down into like this black hole of just like, well, what's the fucking point as an atheist, like then that's a dangerous place for me. So I need to try and find the hope. Like, for instance, we just had that election here in my district, and it sucks that my candidate, this wonderfully progressive woman who actually had solutions. She didn't win. This Trump loyalist won because it's Tennessee. And so I wasn't surprised. But the thing that gave me hope was seeing how the Republicans had to gerrymander Nashville to make it happen. And then he still didn't win by that much. A section of Tennessee that Trump had won by 22 points, he only won by I think 10 points. And again, had they not gerrymandered Nashville, she probably would have won. So it's like they had to jump through all these hoops. And the fact that they have to be doing all this gerrymandering and redistricting in, other states now like Texas and everything, on one hand, it depresses the hell out of me. On the other hand, it gives me hope, because what it shows me is this is what they've resorted to because they don't have any good ideas anymore. And so now they have to play all these fucking reindeer games in order to stay in power. Well, keep doing that, but you can only do that for so long, because you mentioned, people dying. Yeah. Eventually, all these people who are voting for shitty politicians, not to sound morbid, but they're going to die. Everybody dies. The name of this podcast, there is no God, and we're all going to die. Right now, one of the biggest voting blocks for all this bullshit is people who are kind of old. And so, yeah, over time, my hope is that the new generation is going to be more progressive. Anyways, thanks for calling. Like I said, I totally understand the anger, and I think we just have to keep showing up. I know that sounds cliche, but what else are we going to do? We're here right now. We might as well try to do our part, I guess. All right. Let's see. Who else?
Hi, Daniel. It's Ian calling from London again. Hope I'm not monopolising your voicemails, but I was inspired by your gratitude podcast, and I just wanted to share 3 things that I'm grateful for. First one is pop music. I love pop music. I love pop songs. Nothing excites me more than a great pop song, whether it's an old classic I've loved for years or discovering something new. That still really, really excites me. I'm 54 in February next year, but nothing excites me like pop music. So I'm very grateful for pop musicians, pop artists, singer-songwriters, people who share their pop music with the world. I'm very grateful for. And I'm well aware that I'm much better as a listener than a performer. The second one is I'm grateful for beautiful people, which I don't count myself in, externally anyway. I'm well aware I'm not conventionally attractive, but I think that has shaped me. That's made me an outsider. I was an outsider at school being gay. I was picked on, not for being gay, mainly for how I looked. I was tall, gangly, had sticky out ears. So always been incredibly self-conscious about my looks. And when I went on the gay scene, it was quite hard lesson for me that I was still an outsider there because I wasn't conventionally attractive. But I think that shaped me into the person I am. It's made me empathetic, kind. Maybe I'm overcompensating, but I think, no, I know I'm a decent guy. I'm a good human being. And I think that has been shaped by not feeling I fit in and wanting to make an environment where other people who maybe don't feel they fit in are welcomed. So, yeah, but I'm also, as I say, grateful for beautiful people and envious of them, but for sharing their beauty in the world and just being out there for me to appreciate, if only from a distance. And last one is probably in more of the theme of the podcast, is I'm grateful for Christmas. Like you, I'm a gay atheist. Fortunately, I don't live in the Bible Belt. I'd quite like to live in the Bible Belt because then we could hang out, but that's by the by. But I love Christmas. I love this time of year. I like that people are relaxed, kinder to each other in general, I think. And it just makes me nostalgic for family Christmases. I always loved Christmas, always got excited by it. I don't now. I don't wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning anymore, all excited, which is probably a blessing. But I do love it. And this year especially, my eldest niece is expecting her second child, who will be my great-nephew. He's due around Christmas Day, so I'm very much looking forward to that. Lots of love to you, love to Corey. Like to know what you think of my list.
Oh. Well, Ian, I loved your list. And I love you. I think you're such a wonderful person. And that sexy British accent, I will never get tired of listening to it. So first of all, yes, I love pop music too. Great. Yes, a big pop music fan. But secondly, sir, you are a very beautiful person. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You are such a dastardly handsome man. I know, because I've seen you post your photos on Instagram, and I'm just like, there is that beautiful man from London. I think actually, it reminds me of your first phone call that you ever did to the podcast. If I'm not mistaken, you actually called up my very first episode. I felt very fancy because I actually had somebody call from London on my very first episode. And you said, if you don't believe in God, what made you so hot? And I was like, oh, well, thanks. It's debatable whether or not I'm hot, but thank you for the vote of confidence. But I truly think that everybody is hot to somebody. Like there's somebody for everybody. In this diverse world that we live in, beauty is so subjective. And, there's certain people who would stereotypically be considered beautiful, like the classic beautiful sense. And then for me, I find a lot of the most beautiful people, they're not the conventionally beautiful looking people. Like there's something a little off about them. There's something that just kind of sets them apart and makes them interesting. And yeah, so you are such a handsome man, and you are so beautiful inside and out. And again, you have that sexy British accent going for you. So that's always going to win me over. So what I think of your list, I think that, yes, I love pop music too. Pop music changed my life. I think that a song like Love Shack by the B-52s does just as much good as some really emotional, hard-hitting song like Hallelujah. Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen, that's a beautiful song, and it's a gorgeous song. But I think a song like Love Shack does just as much good. A song that can bring people together on a dance floor and elevate a room and just have everybody dancing, I think that does just as much good for humanity as a really fraught with emotions song. I like both. I think both serve a purpose, and I think both are just as valid. I don't subscribe to that school of thought that there's fun pop music that's kind of doesn't mean anything, and then there's the really serious music. I've never subscribed to that. I think that all the music, if it's bringing goodness and joy into the world, or if it's bringing tears into the world, like maybe somebody really does need to cry and they need to grieve or something, and if a really deep, meaningful song is allowing somebody to do that, it's giving them the soundtrack that they can finally feel their emotions, absolutely. But yeah, if it's just making people feel happy and they want to dance around and get all crazy, I think it does just as much good. They're both important. And then the last thing, yes, I love Christmas too. And I'm an atheist, but I love Christmas. And I actually love Christmas music. And I'm unapologetic about that. So if you go and look at my discography, if you look at all the many albums I've released, there's Silent Night. There's God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. There is Angels We Have Heard on High. And you want to know why? Because I fucking love those songs. I grew up singing those songs. I don't believe in God or Jesus or anything like that, but I still love those songs because it reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me of going caroling with my brothers and sisters back when I was 7 and 8 years old. We used to actually go, people don't do this anymore, but we used to actually go over to my grandmother's house for Christmas Eve, and then all 6 of us kids would walk around my hometown and knock on people's doors and carol. I mean, we weren't really that great, singing wise, but we just did it because it was something fun to do. And we would sing Silent Night and We Wish You a Merry Christmas and Away in a Manger and God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen and Good King Wenceslas and all that other stuff. So I have always loved that time of year. And I love the fact that you mentioned this too, that it's the time of year where everybody's a little bit more relaxed and, life kind of just stops for a second, and we kind of need that at the end of the year. I know for me, I've been so busy this whole year. I'm really looking forward to the holidays and just kind of like taking a little bit of time to just breathe, and to just relax. I really, honestly, what I'm fantasizing more than anything right now, Scout's honor, is I want to have a day at some point in December where I do not get off the couch. I want to have a day where I don't get off the couch. I never do that. I'm busy from the moment I get up. My schedule is this. I go. But I've been fantasizing about having a day over the holidays where I just don't do anything. Like phones turned off, computers turned off. I've got Netflix on, and I've got my couch, and I've got my dogs, and I've got some popcorn, and I'm not going to go to the gym, and I'm not going to worry about like eating healthy. I'm just going to like lay on my couch and be a slug. I'm just like chomping at the bit for that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be my gift to myself, and Christmas makes it possible. Because everybody else will be busy doing holiday stuff, so I won't feel pressure to be productive, I've always felt like when everybody else is like working, like I have to be working too. Like it's this pressure that I've always put on myself. And I know that's like a little bit of psychology that you didn't ask for, but I'm giving it to you anyways. Okay, we have just one more call, and look who it is. I think the last voicemail is from my wonderful partner, Corey. Yay!
Hey, sweetie, it's your Corey. So I found myself in this situation where I was trying to help some friends of mine that are in crisis. They're currently experiencing homelessness and camping behind a dumpster in the middle of town, and it's starting to get very cold outside. It's a pretty grim situation. So I went and spent a bunch of money I didn't really have to get them some cold weather gear, sleeping bags and blankets and gloves and socks and some chemical hand warmers, that kind of stuff. But it did get me thinking about the subject of maintaining healthy boundaries when you're trying to help people in need. You and I spent a lot of time talking about this because we're, kids deep in the recovery community, and we know a lot of people who are in varying states of trouble who are trying to get themselves into a better place. So I guess my general topic of discussion would be how is it you can be of service to others while not putting yourself at increased risk, or how do you maintain good, healthy boundaries with people who are in trouble? Okay, love you lots. Talk to you later, because I live with you. Bye.
Oh, honey. Well, first of all, I know that you did that. You bought some people that we know who were out on the streets. You went and you bought them a bunch of stuff so that they would be warm, like sleeping bags and stuff. Yeah, boundaries are important though. And I think of it this way. If I am giving of myself so much that there's nothing left for me, it's kind of like that thing of like, there's a reason why when you're on a plane and the oxygen mask comes down, the parent is supposed to put their oxygen mask on first and then put it on the child. Because if they don't do it that way, then they're both going to die, So I've had a big problem with boundaries in the past. As you know, for a long time, my self-esteem was so non-existent. My personality was basically like, what do you need from me? Like, what can I do? And I was running around trying to solve everybody's problem. And if you had a problem, I instantly felt like it was my fault. Even if I just met you, I would absorb other people's problems, and I'm a sponge that way. And that is one of the dangerous things about being an empath is I think sometimes people can, notice that and they can take advantage of it. I'm not saying that's what happened when you bought those people the sleeping bags. They're lovely people. You were just helping them. And that's the type of person you are. You want to help people. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it all comes down to, I don't have a perfect answer for it, but what I will say is that I've come to embrace the fact that if I choose to help somebody, it's a choice I'm making, and that first of all, I need to follow through on it. Like if I say I'm going to help somebody, I need to actually do it. I can't just be a flake about it, because then that person is going to like count on me helping them. So that's number one. Number two, um, I need to be mindful of, like, if there's something that I'm not willing to do, I need to be clear about that as well. I've paid thousands and thousands of dollars to fix people's problems. And, what I've come to realize is that, first of all, once I help somebody out that way, I need to just look at that money as, like, if I ever see that money again, or if I ever see the resource that I gave, like if it ever comes back to me again, it's like a gift. Like, for instance, like that expression, if I lend money to somebody, I should really view it as like I'm giving it to them. Because if I'm expecting it back, what I'm doing is I'm setting myself up for a resentment, possibly. Because if it turns out they can never pay me back, and so then me helping them turns into me resenting them, well, then that's not good for either one of us. So the healthy way is to be like, okay, I'm going to help this person, but I'm truly giving them money or like time or resources that if I never get it back in any way, shape, or form, that's okay. So I have to approach all of it that way. And so that means if I'm approaching it that way, knowing, okay, I'm going to give this person either my time, my money, my energy, or anything else, and truly embracing the fact that by giving all this away, I'm not expecting to ever get it back, and I'm okay with that. So if that's the case, then I need to be sure that it's stuff I'm willing to give up. That's the other thing too. Like, for instance, again, it's the mask on the plane analogy. Like, if I'm giving somebody my last $10, and yet I have these dogs that I need to take care of, or I have bills of my own. And if I give away so much that I end up not being okay, then I'm not going to be of any use to people later on. Like if I literally give away everything I own and then I'm struggling and I'm in no position to help anybody, well, then that's not going to be good too. So we do need to be mindful of what we do need. Like, I need to also think about my needs. Like, what am I going to need to be okay? And it's okay to realize that I have needs. Like, I have a roof over my head right now. I want to continue having a roof over my head, because by having a roof over my head, like, it means that that's one less thing I got to worry about, so that I can focus on, helping somebody else out. Like, I have food in the refrigerator right now, and I want to keep it that way. Like, I have health care. I want to keep it that way. I have heat and hot water and electricity. Like, these are all things, they're not bad things to have. And I don't feel guilty about having those things. But at the same time, I also realize, like, having those things and knowing that I'm able to pay for them is a blessing, first of all. But secondly, I need to remind myself that the other people don't have them, but it's important for me to continue having them myself, so that I don't need to worry about them, so that, like, the less I have to worry about myself, I guess, the more I can focus on helping other people. The more secure I am in my own life, the more effective I'll be at helping other people. So I guess it's finding that balance of making sure that we are okay, the individual person who wants to help other people, that they are okay first and foremost. As you know, yeah, I am in recovery. So even helping another alcoholic stay sober, like, I have to look at, like, well, what's the quality of my sobriety? Like, is my sobriety in a good enough space that I actually have something to pass on to somebody else? Or am I just thinking about drinking every 5 seconds? So if I'm secure in my sobriety, then probably I have a better version of sobriety to give to somebody else. Or, somebody needs help with their self-esteem and then they come to me. Do I have something that I can help that, do I have any advice I can give them that's actually real advice? Or am I just talking out of my ass? I think, yeah. Just kind of like went all over the place with this, but I think it's a great question. I think it's just you got to take every situation, one situation at a time, and know what your boundaries are, know what your needs are, be mindful of your needs, and don't apologize for having needs. That you want to make sure that those needs are going to be met and they're going to be okay. And then if you still feel like you're in a place where you can help somebody else out, to not ever expect to get any of that back. If anything ever does come back, well, then it's just kind of a bonus, but it's not about getting paid back or anything. Like, truly, if you're going to help somebody, just help them and then let it go. Let it go. Let it go and hope that that help was effective. Because really, that's the other thing. Whether or not that help is effective is really not up to us. I've seen it many times in sobriety where people bend over backwards to help this person get sober or help that person sober, and then the person goes out and drinks again, and then the people get mad like, well, I did all this stuff for them. Well, it's not about that. We help people, but then we have to let go of the results. The results aren't up to us. Like if I help somebody like get sober, or maybe I help somebody like find an apartment or something, then, I've done my part. Like if that situation works out for them, that's great, but maybe it won't. That's not up to me. Like I'm not God. I don't even believe in God. So it's like whether or not the help that I give ends up being lasting help or it's just temporary help, that's not up to me either. So I think we help people, but we don't have any expectations with it. And we still need to make sure that we are okay. All right. So anyways, you guys, that was the episode. I am looking forward to having a nice, relaxing night. I want to thank you all. If you got this far in the episode, I'd love to hear what you thought of it. So again, danielcartier.com/podcast. Click leave a voice message and let me know what you thought of my list. Let me know what you thought of my answer to the voicemails. Let me know what you thought of this podcast. I want to hear from you. Even if you don't like anything that I said, if you hate the fact that I'm a gay liberal atheist, you hate the title of my podcast, you hate the fact that I say there's no God and we're all going to die, or maybe if you love everything I just said, doesn't matter. Leave me a voice message. I love getting them. I would actually love to do an entire episode where all I have to do is answer voice messages because honestly, that is my favorite part of the show. So, yeah, leave me a voice message. danielcartier.com/podcast. All right. Love you guys, and I'm wishing you a great week. There is no God and we're all gonna die. There is no